morning, everyone, and welcome to your Week 6 Monday Morning Breakfast Bite. So this week you're working on your deliverable 3 for your team project. And in working on that project, what I've done is I've given you a fact scenario based on basically what you've been doing so far in the course. And this week we're going to be studying about intellectual property, so this scenario plays well into that. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be acting as the judge, so to speak, because what you're going to do is not only identify the issue, but you're also going to decide the holding. In doing so, though, you have to do legal research on this topic. You may not use the textbook. The textbook is not considered legal authority. However, what the textbook is good for is leading you in the direction, explaining what the law is in general, and giving you cases and giving you the federal statutes that apply or may apply to the scenario you're going to be working on. What you then want to do is you want to take that information, you want to go to the Lexis database. Please take a look at the tutorials that are in the tutorials folder, because I go walking you through how you access that database, and then you're going to utilize research in order to determine and educate yourself on what the case law says, what the federal court system says with regard to intellectual property and certain intellectual properties. So if you look at the scenario we're talking about, as the scenario states, that you have a case that is based off your first and second deliverables. So you've been in business and profiting for a while with a well-established name for your business. 5 years ago, when you started your business, you created a special logo and unique name for your company. You also checked your name and registered it with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Recently, you received a cease and desist letter from another company that demands you stop using your name and logo. You do your research and find that the company that sent the letter is involved in the same industry as your company, using a very similar sounding name and similar logo as you. Not only that, but the company's web address is similar to your address. However, the company does not provide the same services or products as your company, and this company is not associated in any way with your company. You also learn that the company was formed 6 months after your company was formed, has not registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, and is in a different state. Given this information, you again contact your attorney and ask how a judge would rule in this case if it went to court, because you want to continue to stay in business using your present name and logo. So what you're going to do then, as I stated, is you're going to look at this situation from an objective standpoint, but understanding what you've done right in order to secure your trademark and logo, your company name, and make sure that that you are entitled to the use of what we call intellectual property, that intellectual property. So when you're looking at that and you're looking at the material this week, think about what area of intellectual property am I focusing upon? Am I focusing on patents? No. Am I focusing on copyrights? Am I focusing on trademark? Am I focusing on trade dress? And then we also have, obviously, cyber squatting issues or things of that nature that you're going to be looking at as well. So when you address it from that standpoint, it should be easier in trying to determine the research that you'll need to utilize for this week. Go through the issue evaluation format. Please make sure you use that format. It'll help you stay organized, and it will make sure that you're hitting all the points you need to hit. You don't want to write this as though it's an individual term project or just a term project in general. You want to make sure that you address it in the format in which it's provided, and I do that so that you all can stay focused and that you don't have any worries. Don't worry about a case name for your project, but do make sure you have a title page with your group number and the names of all contributing team members listed on that title page, please. If you would like to provide me with a rough draft at the beginning or by Friday of this week, I'd be more than happy to give it a look and let you know whether you're heading in the right direction. Now, with that said, we're going to talk this week about real property and intellectual property. So we're looking at property. Intellectual property is a personal property right. Real property has to do with real estate, has to do with fixtures that are attached to real estate. So we take title to different property depending on the type of property that it is. If you're taking title to real estate, obviously there's a very formal way to do that. If you're taking title on personal property, sometimes it's very informal, whether it's just purchasing the item, or if you're purchasing an automobile, then we have other areas of concern with regard to ensuring ownership and title to that property. Same thing with intellectual property. Intellectual property can get hazy because when we talk about intellectual property, we're talking about something that you can't necessarily touch and feel. You may be able to, you file something with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office to secure your patent or to secure your trademark. Same thing with the Copyright Office to secure your copyright. However, when you look at it from that standpoint, what exactly are you doing? You have a piece of paper that may memorialize your interest in that intellectual property, but you can't, unless it's a patent, you can't necessarily look and touch and feel a trademark. You can't touch and feel necessarily copyright unless it's in a book or something of that nature. And so we look at it from more of an amorphous standpoint, where we're saying we have an interest in it. If it were stock, you have an interest in it. The stock memorializes that interest, but you can't necessarily touch and feel the stock itself. So when you look at it from that standpoint, you're looking at some document that's going to articulate this is the interest and title and ownership that you have in the property, but it doesn't necessarily epitomize the property itself. Patents, you're given the right to utilize the patent. Now, the computer, the keyboard that I'm using, that was a patented item. I can look and I can touch and feel this, but the interest in it itself, I can't necessarily look and touch and feel. So think about it from that standpoint. It's a little more vague in how we actually memorialize our interest in it, but not necessarily touch and feel the property itself in general. Now, real estate is different, and the manner in which you transfer title to real estate is going to depend on the ownership interest in the property, because you can have tenants in common, you can have tenants by the entireties. There are different ways, or you may have an individual ownership interest. If you have tenants by the entireties, that can only be done in a husband and wife situation. Tenants in common, that would be a situation where you may be an owner of the property with another individual. So pay attention to those things when you're looking at it. In real estate, as we studied with regard to contracts, you must have the contract for the sale and purchase of that real estate in writing. The mortgage has to be in writing. The title to the property transferring from one owner to another must be in writing. If we don't have it in writing, it's not going to be a valid and enforceable contract. So there are certain things that we're looking at with real estate under the statute of frauds. You have to have it in writing. So just pay attention to the differences in the different types of property when you're going through the materials this week. As always, if you have any questions, y'all, please don't hesitate to contact me. Best way is via email, and I try to get back with everybody within 24 hours. Have a great week 6.